So listen, folks, there's only one thing going on in the city of Jackson, and I have the man here who is front and center on this. Headlines all over the place, and I'm so glad to have him. He's a friend of the show anyway, and I haven't seen you in a very long time. And we're talking about Kenny Stokes, and he's able to be with us today. Welcome very much. I booked you a couple of weeks ago, none of this stuff, and y'all know what's going on, right? Well, we've lost one council person already, pleaded guilty to accepting bribes, Angelique Lee, and there are headlines that more things are to come, da-da-da-da. Well, one of the people who figures rather prominently in that is Kenny Stokes, who's been talking about it, and you had a news conference the other day, and, I remember when you said a couple of years ago, the mayor accused you and Councilman Foote of being hinky and stealing or something nefarious anyway. Yeah. And you were very upset about that. And you said you wanted the FBI to come in and check things out. Well, the FBI apparently has been here and is still here. And these things have happened. One city council person is gone, and there are possibly more to come. Angelique Lee allegedly took, well, not allegedly, she admitted it, bribes from some contractors. It's kind of a convoluted story. The mayor accused you, too, of taking money regarding a trash contract. Remember, all that stuff was going on with, the Dickey's, I call it Dickey's dirt, but anyway, Richards, anyway. So, but this is something else. This is something to do with a big development downtown that somebody allegedly wanted. Now, that's a good time to use allegedly wanted to put in downtown Jackson. And it turns out that the people that were being dealt with were actually undercover FBI people. And it's awful. It's awful for Jackson. It's terrible. But there's more to come. Welcome, Councilman Stokes.
Thank you so much for having me here this morning.
Honestly, really all I have to say is tell me what's happening, and that's our full hour. But what the heck is going on?
Well, by starting off the show, I've been on the council since 1989, and I've served with Councilman Foote for many years. And, Councilman Foote is one of the most honest people, council persons I've seen since I've been on the council. And for the mayor to make those false accusations is like Councilman Foote said, well, just prove it, show some evidence. Well, I've always said that he would say things like that because he had unclean hands. He was dirty, and he was trying to throw someone else under the bus. What happened with Councilmember Lee is it's like in the old days when someone would see a rock star, and she was just trying to get along and trying to fit in, and the madam had that hoodoo and that voodoo on her, and, she went for the okie-doke. This is one of the richest families, black families in Hinds County, the Lee family. Her grandfather, Mr. Lee, coached us baseball and owner of Big Apple Inn. Is also going to deal with the Owens family, another one of the richest black families in Hinds County. So it's my understanding, and the conversation went toward, was the mayor setting up Jody Owens, the DA, or was the DA setting up the mayor? And some of the Owens family said the DA wasn't setting up anybody. So it's turned and look as though the mayor was really throwing people under the bus. Now, what happened, it's my understanding, it can't be confirmed, that the Department of Justice gave some people an opportunity to plead guilty or take a deal by the end of July. And Councilmember Lee was one of those who took the deal. Now, it's my understanding that some others are going to be indicted. It's going to be city people, county people, but the city will move forward. It's not going to be the first time the city has had a black eye.
This is egregious.
Yeah, this city has been here since 1822.
Wow.
So it's going to keep growing. I just hope that putting the train on the track, we can get the handle what needs to happen in this city. Number one, you got to get a handle on crime so people will stop being afraid to be in Jackson. When people tell you they're coming from Pocahontas, wherever else, and they're afraid, then you need to cure that. You need more police officers. You need to pay them like you need them and your life depends on it. So that means you're going to have to cut the fat out the budget. You don't need as many department heads today as you have. Go back to the time when your population was around 135,000. You didn't have all these department heads, which are making you top heavy.
Very.
So you got enough money. Do not raise taxes. If you do anything, reduce taxes so you compete with the surrounding area. You have enough money budgetarily in this city to do any and everything you need to do if you get the fat and the stealing out of the city.
Let me back up a little bit regarding Angelique Lee. She sat next to you at the council table. Did she ever ask you for advice?
After everybody always get in trouble, then they always, well, I'm going to stay around you, Kenny. Well, it's too late then because, what we normally do, we just don't really associate with people. We don't take meetings. We don't go out for drinks. We don't drink a beer. We don't do none of that, And so we had a time or two when she mentioned something to me that some people had set her up. And she was hurt. This was a young mother, this small children and everything.
What did you tell her?
Well, I named some lawyers. I said, get one of these lawyers, go talk to a good lawyer. And, it stuns you because, number one, this is something you just didn't think would happen.
Right.
So, the first thing you got to do is get a good lawyer, someone who's going to advise you properly. And now, I don't know. I think the lawyer she has, because somebody told her she need to, work with the authorities and those kind of things. Because one of the things I heard is that they got her out the way with her agreement earlier this week. Mm-hmm. But it's my understanding some others going to be indicted. And, because if you did wrong, admit you did wrong and move on. And I think at the federal level, there's sentencing guidelines and everything else. But the major thing is when you procrastinate and try to send the wrong message, this was raised, they just did it because I'm black or I didn't do nothing. When you know that you did, do like Lee, admit it, move on.
Was she set up to be the scapegoat? Well,
in my mind, now when I say scapegoat, it's not the federal authorities who did that. It was big fish eat little fish, other people who have been busted. It's called, again, big fish eat little fish, and they put the authorities on her scent, which means that's how they came to her. The word has it now, I don't know if it's true or false, that Jody was in California, Jody Owens, when they say the mayor put him on Jody's scent. Now, some people know what happened. They know about the yacht. They know about the private plane. Some people know. Some people out there listening today have them to call in and tell what they know about it. But, that's how a lot of this got started some months ago.
Who are some of the big fish? Can you, who've already, they're in prison or about to go, or they're rocking on the edge, or what?
Well, rumor has it. Now, we can go with rumor. Rumor has it there's going to be the DA, Jody. Rumor has it going to be the mayor. And rumor has it might be Councilman Banks. Now, that's rumors. Now, I don't know, and it's other people, what I've told the media over and over again. What about those business people? I ain't talking about the police and the FBI who came in. We're talking about, some of this stemmed back to a garbage contract where the low bidder did not get the bid, and certain people steered the bid to make sure that certain friends were getting contracts. Do you allow them to walk away with money that they received illegally? Or do you make sure that you send the message that we're not going to tolerate this nonsense, period? And with Angelique Lee, sometimes they see other people getting away with things till they think that you got the green light and everybody can do it. And that's why I tell people, stay on the side of right. Stay on the side of right. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff. You know, you got to understand, people going to always come to you with these kind of deals and all that stuff.
Right.
That's why you don't talk to them. I don't talk to them, number one. You can't talk to me. So they're going to try to get somebody who know me to let them come and talk to me. That's the first thing. The second thing is, you know the difference between right and wrong. Now, that's what's important. And that's one of the first questions they're going to ask you. Do you know the difference between right and wrong? Yes, you do. And if you know that this is wrong, then don't do it. I don't care what friend it is. I don't care who you respect. And that's how that rock star mentality comes. Well, I like this person. This person's a rock star, so I'm going to listen to this person.
You get romanced. Well, she got romanced.
She got romance. That's a way to put it. And then the thing it did, it destroyed her life and her children and her family life. Because, again, not just her. You know, Joe, the Owens probably got to be concerned. The Owens family, some of the richest people in this state. They ain't need no money. That's like chump change. Rumor has it that when the FBI went into his office, they found the money just in there, the marked money just in the safe. It ain't like they needed money for to spend money or do those kind of things with it. It was just they got romance, as you said, because you got to understand the math smooth. You know, if you're not 10 sharp, he'll talk the sweetness out of sugar. He'll make you think up is down and down is up.
Wow. So
you got to have your head on straight.
And by the way, Kenneth Stokes knows what he's talking about in terms of law because you have a law degree. I don't think a lot of people know that. So you do know a thing or two about the law. Do you think that Angelique Lee is cooperating with the government and is talking?
Yeah, but it's not just Angelique Lee. This goes back to Keisha Sanders. You know, where the $1 million? I came on your show and told you $1 million was missing through Keisha Sanders.
Who's Keisha Sanders?
That's the lady that used to work for the city that they said took some of the COVID money. They got her on one thing, but they had her on two different things. One thing was like 30-some thousand, and that's what they got on. But what about the $1 million? That's missing. That's why you don't have streets being paved. That's why you don't have right-of-ways being done, cemeteries being done, swimming pools closed. Money walking away. Money does not have feet. You cannot allow thievery in government at any level, whether you're talking about the state, the county, the city, whatever level, you cannot tolerate thievery.
What happened with that woman? Is she... And what you just said.
She pled guilty, but you know the state attorney general and the state auditor, they still got to say, okay, Kenny, what the city money, $1 million? You know, they did it in such a way where they gave contracts to people like they were doing work, but yet the company doing the work, they barely. That's how it came up. So when we gonna get paid? And they said, well, we pay y'all. But you done gave $1 million to a company that's supposed to do the work with no business location or anything else. But the people doing the work with business location and everything, they ain't getting paid. So, you know, somewhere people going to have to fight for Jackson in terms of making sure that the people who do wrong take money from this city, that the city is made whole. They need their money. This city need its money.
The root of this business right now so far was supposedly somebody was going to put up some sort of development.
Convention Center Hotel. That's the biggest CUD in the world.
That was it, huh? That was the big thing, right?
Convention Center Hotel.
That's what they were going to do.
Well, normally you wouldn't have these kind of situations in government because normally it's checks and balances. It didn't come through the council at all. The matter, we're going to do a Convention Center Hotel, and he got a division of the city that work under him, and they act like they put it out there. You know, normally you come somewhere through the council, and the council going to know. Council members didn't have an idea what was going on. They didn't know it was in the conversation about a Convention Center Hotel. You know, over the years, this has been an issue that has plagued the city for a number of years. We can go back to the days when we really was in the process of getting a Convention Center Hotel, and the city legal department made a mistake. The city got all the property around the convention center. They had some developers coming in out of Texas, and they gave the people the property without a reverter clause. So the city had to buy the property back from the people that the city already owned.
Oh, for God's sakes. That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's really nuts. Councilman Kenny Stokes is here. Would you like to talk with him at 888-808-8637? You can do so. Would you like to text him? You may do it at 601-879-4395, and you can watch us as we live stream supertalk.fm/Mary. So we're coming up on a break here in a couple of minutes, but how dirty is Jackson?
Well, you got some dirty business people, and those dirty business people tend to think they could get in the head of elected officials. Now, this is what makes it so ugly now. The state law need to be changed in a lot of manners. It's a new form of government, the mayor council form of government. What is so disheartening about this whole thing is that your mayor don't vote. That's the con in this whole thing. The mayor put this illegal activities in progress and process, but yet he don't vote, and the people say, well, the council voted. Well, the council don't. Basically, they do not have legal advice. You know, sometimes legal might advise you, sometimes they don't. Legal's taking a position that, well, the mayor can fire us and you can't. So you got these council members who really don't have any legal education, and they just going by what people are saying, and they making the decision, and it's a piss poor decision that they make because, again, it's put on the agenda by the mayor, not by council members.
Taking that break that we were talking about, this is Kenny Stokes. We'll be back in just a few minutes here on Mary Weiden and You on Super Talk Jackson.
But I sit my mother down. I said, Mama, I said, you don't really want to know what Sue did.
Well, folks, we are on Mary Weiden and You, and we have Councilman Kenny Stokes here in the studio. He represents Ward 3 in the city of Jackson. We're talking about all the hoopla, and there's one, I guess we'd have to say, Councilman Stokes, one small shoe has fallen, and there'll be some other ones that could possibly be falling before too long. You know that earlier this week, Angelique Lee, a council member, pleaded guilty to accepting bribes. And some of those things were like clothing and jewelry and stuff like that, supposedly from developers, but they came from the FBI. Mm-hmm. And so, and Kenny Stokes has been pretty vocal about this in the last couple of days, and you think more is to come?
Absolutely.
And when do you think that's going to happen?
Rumor had it. One was supposed to happen today. Evidently, it didn't happen. It has not happened. Let me say this, because people are going to get the wrong idea. The FBI in this area, the FBI go all over the country. You cannot, in government, allow what happened with the garbage contract and other things that had started happening in this city and not expect that the federal government is going to come in. They're in this city every day. The federal government, they have offices in Jackson, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and everything else. That's why it's so important that, when people are elected, and I've not been here a mighty long time, since 1989.
And you grew up here.
Yeah, this home. My mama taught some of the people listening to this show over at Chastain, and, I had a brother to play basketball with some of the people at St. Joe before integration. So, I had another brother play football, and, I went to college on a baseball scholarship.
Really?
Miss Lee, grandfather was my coach, on Big Apple Inn. But the issue is this: there's no rock stars. Don't get on a council or any kind of become an elected official that you're looking at someone in the type of way that you consider that person a rock star and above the law, and you follow that person the wrong direction. Because that decision you make is going to be a decision that's going to hurt you for the rest of your life. Because that person going to say, well, I didn't tell him to do it. And that's what we were talking about before we went off the air, is that the mayor cannot vote under this form of government. But he's introducing all this nonsense. And these council members, some of them are blindly voting on what he suggests. And why not these businesses? Why are they not being held liable and responsible? They're getting these illegal contracts. They're getting money from the city illegally. Some do not perform the contract, and if you get a contract, you got to perform it. You can't get paid just because you get a contract. You got to do the work. So why some of these businesses are not being held responsible and liable?
Well, you're talking about people I don't know about, and generally people don't know about, but a couple instances of people who had contracts and had things they're supposed to do. The guy who owned, and it's now torn down, that beautiful building on Briarwood, and that was a beautiful building on the outside, but it was junk. And now we got this problem with Hotel O. That's where is that? It's on I-20.
I-55.
Oh, it's on 55. Oh yeah, I'm right. I-55.
Right there at Northside Drive.
And it's just this kind of stuff just kills the city, and it's like. It's heartbreaking, and then you got this stuff going on in the background. It's like, hey, this has got to stop. This has got to stop, and it is stopping. Yes.
Well, it is, but the damage has been done. I'm saying that you need more police officers. The money that these people are stealing, money that could have been used to make the city safe. You got some people in the state of Mississippi say they're not coming to Jackson. They don't feel safe. They don't want to take a chance of losing their life on nonsense. People calling for a police officer, and there's no policeman to come, so they don't show up because your numbers are so low. Why not cut the fat out the budget? Give more money to the police department to hire we need to set the number of officers. Let's stop this 1 and 2 officers and we having 3 and 4 classes. We need to start off with 100, 150 more officers where you can see an impact.
And you're in favor very much so, I think, of Chief Wade.
Well, I believe a good chief. I still say he's going to get a contract. Number one, under state law and the attorney general, everybody got to do their job. The mayor under state law has a right to veto any legislation. But under state law, the city council can override the mayor's veto. The mayor vetoed giving Chief Wade a contract, which I don't think make any sense because you know how much he's going to make and everything else. So the city council overrode the mayor's veto.
And so where does that stand now?
Well, that's what the mayor said, well, he's not going to negotiate and all this kind of stuff. It's just time for us to get the attorney general and everybody else in. You got to follow state law, mayor. Mayor don't want to follow no law. Anything he won't do his thing. And everybody to hell with everything else. We follow state law as a government entity. And we made sure we overrode the mayor veto. It's done all over the country. Congress overrides, the president veto, the legislature overrides, the governor veto. And people understand that procedure. But in Jackson, Mississippi, the mayor could veto something, you override it, and he had like, no, I still don't care. I'm the king. No, Mr. Mayor, you're just the mayor. You're not king.
Well, point being, you got your good chief. And now you've got to be able to give him a whole lot more.
That's right.
He's grateful for what he's gotten, I believe, because he's been on the program, and he's gotten increased salaries for people, and he's gotten more people. But it's a start, and it's a work in progress.
But you can't be satisfied just with a start. Let's give him what he needs to be successful. To be successful, he need more officers, and you got to pay them. So that means more money. We need to downsize the city, and let's put priorities on what's important, making these citizens feel safe. Let's send a message to these criminals and these bad guys not here.
Because they're here.
They're here and they bad. They got them big guns. They shooting them. They don't care who they kill.
You're right. Now, can all of you council people get your hands on records? Let's see, it'd be out on computers of numbers of employees, what they do, and how much they're paid. Can you get your hands on that?
How? All the employees work for the mayor. And some of them, we request things. I request things all the time at the council meeting to make sure it's on record. 1 or 2 might make sure I get some information, But the vast majority of information that you request, you don't get.
So you cannot get a list of all the city employees, who they are and how much they're paid. You can't do that?
You should be able to.
You should be able to. As council members, you can't?
Well, you should.
But
the reality is, I have requested different things. I even requested to travel. The mayor and the council, everything, haven't received it. I requested how much people getting paid, haven't received it. So I make the request, but how do you force? You a council under this form of government. That's why I said it needs to be reworked. Under this form of government, the employees work for the mayor. So it's not like the council can fire them. I do a vote of no confidence, but I can't fire them. The only one can fire city employees is the mayor.
Well, when these people are hired, like to do public works, let's say, or I guess public works would be a good example. Does that person have to come before the council to be confirmed by the council?
And once they're confirmed, the directive, once they're confirmed, it's a different attitude. We're confirmed.
So you know ahead of time, but you don't know after what's going to happen after that.
You get, ain't nothing you can do. You can't force them to give you information. It's a shame that the system is so flawed, because you had other mayors, they would give you access to the department heads. And these department heads, they mind giving you information. A lot of times you want the information for your file. You want to keep some files about the different things that go on. People ask you questions. Well, what's this and that? And you guys say, well, I don't know. What you mean you don't know? You're a councilman. Well, we don't have the information.
That is terrible.
How do you vote on some things and you just get the stuff the morning of the meeting? You ain't had time to read it. But then they look for you to vote for it. So then, you got to try to speed read stuff right quick. And, that's not how government's supposed to work. It didn't work like that on the candid. It didn't work like that on a day of dance. I never served on a dance, but I know people who did. Harvey Johnson. It didn't work like that under Harvey Johnson.
Frank Milton.
No, it didn't work like that. It was open access.
An individual. The current mayor is the one you're saying. The other mayors, they work under the same form of government, but they were open, and you're saying this one is not.
Yeah, you can't. Let's take the situation you got now that's going on with the Convention Center Hotel. None of that come through the council, and it used to always come through the council. Let's take the contract with the garbage contract. Foot put on the agenda for months. What's the status of it? Let us see the RFP. The city council did not get a copy of the RFP that they were supposed to vote on.
RFP request for?
Proposal that they were supposed to vote on. How are you going to have a request for proposal, excuse me, with Richards, but the city council don't have a copy?
I should tell the audience, by the way, I'm talking about the mayor. Well, Mary, why don't you have him on the show? I have asked when he was a candidate a couple of times and never got a call back. Then I met him in a public place a couple summers ago and asked, and he kind of muttered something. And when he walked away with the person he was with, he said, well, I've already done an interview on that station. So we're not looking to have him. Apparently, I would love to have him as a guest. He'd certainly be welcome to come here and respond to everything in the world that he can. But I do not believe that the will is there. I will try, but I don't think the will is there. So people should know that I have made an effort.
Well, you can invite other council members.
Oh, I have.
And they can say the same thing. They're going to tell you.
Yeah. You and Ashby Foote are the two most cooperative council members. And both of you appear on this program. Councilman Foote was on here just a few weeks ago. Sometimes he comes on as the civilian money guy, but mostly comes on as the city council. And you two are very cooperative and happy to do all this. And I do appreciate that, and I know the audience appreciates it too, because we have to know. We have to know what's going on in our city government.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nothing to hide. That's what makes people look concerned about government when it seems like you're hiding things.
Yeah.
Be open above board. Let people know what's going on, how it's going on, who did what. And those kind of things. That way people feel a little more supportive of their government entity.
We're going to have city elections next summer.
May.
In May. Yeah, it's coming up. So who's running for mayor and you are not? We know
Well, one while I was in the race. I thought I was. And my son, I have a son that's a doctor. He said, Daddy, he said, you'll win, but it'll kill you. I said, what? He said, it'll kill you dead. He said, don't you see Frank dead? Don't you see Lumumba Sr. dead? It'll kill you.
On that note, we'll come back. We got our final segment coming up here. Kenneth Stokes on Mary Weiden and You. We'll be right back. Got our final segment here with Kenneth Stokes. And we were just talking about the mayor's race. We've talked all about the city council thing, and we'll do a wrap on that in a couple of minutes. But I was asking, were you going to, there was talk that you would run for mayor, and your son said no.
Absolutely. And they said, Dad, it'll kill you. I said, what? He said, Dad, it will kill you dead. So, people say, well, surround yourself with better people. But, somewhere down the line, you have to make a determination, make a good decision. And, you're going to listen to somebody. And I have some of the best doctors, I think, in the world. But my son is that's my son.
Your primary physician, though, too.
More than just one of my doctors.
Right.
He's somebody, that I'm going to listen to now. I tried to get my daughter, I have a Harvard lawyer, to come back, and my son told her, this city is in pretty bad shape right now, and it's going to take some forward-thinking people to turn it around. And when I say forward-thinking, at one while people may not believe it, we were considered in competition with Nashville, Houston. We had moved to almost 200,000 people and were steady growing. The young man who came up with the idea of downtown housing, I think his last name was Stevens, he worked for the city of Jackson. I think he left here and went to Memphis and then to Chicago. So the point I'm trying to make is that...
Jackson, here's the thing, we were talking during the break about how I had told Bert Case, whom I married eventually, that I felt that Jackson was going to go by way of Detroit. He said, I know that'll never happen. You can just hear him say that. And a few years later, he said, you're right, it has. But Detroit is coming back. Now, I don't know how they're doing it or what they're doing. And they're a zillion times bigger than Jackson, Mississippi. But it can be done. But you're right, it takes forward-thinking people. Are there forward-thinking people here? Number one. Number two, are they going to step up and run for mayor?
Well,
you got to start somewhere.
A lot of them will not. They just said that they're not going to do it. They're not going to run because of the situations that they're in. But you got to understand, this city has money. That's the difference between Jackson and most of these small towns. They just wasting money and not spending the money properly.
And the hard part is getting to the money? I mean, you can't get to the money? Well, that song goes, show me the money.
And that's what I asked a few weeks ago at the council meeting. How much money we got in the bank? Council people are supposed to be over the money. That's supposed to be a question asked and answered easily. And the people need to know, how much money does the city of Jackson have in the bank? And I still haven't got that reply and that number. That's what I'm saying. But when the mayor meet with them and he asks how much money, they get answers. But council members ask questions, you don't get answers. And that's why I even like memos. In the old days, they used to give you a memo, and you can have a file on what's been said. Otherwise, they'll lie to you. And when Stamps was there, Stamps created a law that you can't lie to the council because you're making decisions based on lies. You're talking
about DeKeither Stamps.
Yeah. Versus
you had to have a law that the council will not be lied to?
Yeah, because people come in there and lie like it's nothing. They tell you a lie, and then you don't know the difference because you don't have anything in front of you to read. You don't have you don't have legal. You don't have a legal person in the clerk's office. So the clerk is trying to do the best she can. She's not a lawyer. So you basing your decisions on how you feel at the time versus evidence, some kind of law that's in front of you, some kind of paperwork that you can bag up your decision with.
If you've got some paperwork, maybe not, on infrastructure work, repaving of streets and all, how is that going? And the tax money, where is all that?
Well, I guess in some ways it's moving forward. The city, in my opinion, with all this money coming in from Washington, D.C. to help with water,
that's the other thing. Mm-hmm.
If the city would work with Jackson Water, where they digging up streets and those things, and the city would work hand in hand instead of against them, where this Jackson Ward would say, well, we're going to repay the street after we tear it up. If y'all will put so much in it, the county put so much in it. That way, everybody would benefit. But when you have everybody fighting over nonsense, the federal judge made a decision. Wingate went to Brinkley High School. He loved Jackson from Burton Addition. Stop fighting Jackson Water because you just don't like the idea.
Well, I would think you would welcome them. Here, these big guys are coming in with their money, and there are people like, how can you fight that? I mean, why
when you had raw boo-boo all over the city, people call every day, Kenny, we can't sit outside. We got raw sewage out here. We ain't got water brown. You got water now ain't brown. You can drink water. Work together instead of, trying to find a way to hurt. You're trying to hurt them, but you're hurting the citizens.
Yes.
Especially the poor people.
Crazy.
See, because the poor people can't leave. Those middle class or upper, they leaving. And what hurts, if you've seen the tax sale that's getting ready to happen in this county, the paper is so large it can't fit in your mailbox. It's that large. So you got more and more people who can't afford to pay these high taxes, that's losing property, that's going to the state, that end up being overgrown. Or during the fall and winter, it's set on fire by the homeless.
Yeah, that really pays the taxes, doesn't it? Oh, wow.
So you got to have a good person who can lead this city in a positive manner, who's not a thief, who's not going to listen to their friends and let their friends make them think, well, you not a good mayor because you ain't giving us money, you ain't sending us no contracts.
You got anybody in mind who would fit the bill?
Oh, so
man or woman?
There's so
matter?
many. I tell people that one lady I did a talk, I said Lee was going to be the first woman mayor. Lee was going to be the first woman mayor. She said, well, how's she going to be the mayor? She was standing. I said, rock star. She let them get in her head. There's some independent thinking people over there that will not let people get in their head and make them think that right is wrong and wrong is right.
Whoever is going to do it better hurry up and jump on the bandwagon because times are flying and people are leaving, and that's your tax base. And so somebody has got to, or some persons have got to emerge as, hey, I'm going to do it.
Well, I'm glad you're saying it because it gives me a chance to say Kenny Stokes not running for mayor, because some say, well, Kenny doing that because he's trying to run for mayor. My chance to run for mayor, I could have run for mayor many, many, many times. That's just not something I dream about or just want to do. What I want to do, and I ask God to put me in Ward 3 to help the people. And that's what I've been able to do. I even went to the Board of Supervisors, and I came back to the city and took over a $10,000 pay cut. So money's not an issue with me. We've been poor all our life. I live in the same house I was really born in. So it's not like I got to have money. For what? You survive. God will provide. I'm the fattest council person ever come through Jackson. I make less money than anybody. And you going to tell me God won't provide? I ain't looking like I'm hungry.
Well, we're running out of time.
I eat bologna sandwiches for steak.
That's okay. I get that.
That's a poor man's steak, a bologna sandwich.
That's okay. That's okay because you're living where you need to be. So before we run out of time, bottom line on this whole city council investigation and other shoes are going to fall.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
When are they going to start falling?
I guess
and then
within the
what
next 90 days, you're going to go through a lot. Now, we're going to try to have some on September the 11th for Charles Evers. His birthday is September the 11th, so we're going to invite you to come to this Charles Evers birthday celebration.
Oh, cool, Mr. Charles. He told me one time. He said, "I want to hire you to be on my radio station." This was years ago. I thought that was pretty cool. We thought that was going to be pretty cool. We didn't do it. But.
Now they're going to start. More and more people the indictments going to come down, and some of those, going to go to trial. Some are going to plead guilty. So it's going to go for another, indictments and everything probably in the next 90 days. But some of these trials are going to go into a year and a half. The federal government used the Speedy Trial Act, so they try to make sure that, we're not going to allow you to sit out here for 5 or 6 years on bond, except for, I think, Warnock in Madison County other than him.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to come to trial, and it's going to be settled quickly.
Well, all that, when they go, then you have to have special elections, and that's a lot of money, and that's people. You got to find people to do those, but you got to find people for the mayor's race, too, and in the middle of all this.
Well, to keep the stamps. Now, you ask the person, he served on that city council. He know how municipal government works. He pushed for to have a city manager. He'll be a good person. He's not a thief. He'll be a good person to consider for mayor. Now, some going to say no, but some going to say yes. But at the same time, what this city need to recognize is that we're not competing against a Brandon and a Madison or Richland. Our competition is a Dallas, a New Orleans, and a Los Angeles. And I'm saying that because we can't get bogged down on minor things. Let's fight the big fight and not the little.
Well said. Thank you very much, Councilman Kenny Stokes.
Been a councilman since 1989.
Yes, and grew up where he lives now, hearing the sound
Play
of
baseball,
the lions.
let Neil get some climbers. Them climbers may not tell the truth. I knocked them out the park. I hit a home run on the climbers.
Woohoo! And
they was at Forest Hill.
You heard the lions roaring, and next time you come,
at the zoo. I live by the zoo. The lions used to roar. Lions used to roar every morning. You ask people who lived by the zoo, who lived near Capitol Street, they'll tell you that zoo was something special.
And
it was free. God bless you. God